मेरा टॉपिक एज mentioned last time, Tehzeebul Islam by Muhammad Bakir Majlisi, and we discussed or I presented a few things about how do you do the brush early in the morning, how do you comb your hair, and few ethics around general living. And today's session would be really quick as well. आज के session में I just want to protract the facts, like how your house should be. हमारे इमाम क्या बोले, हमारा घर कैसा होना चाहिए. The first thing our imam said was you should have a big open area in your house, as big as possible. And एक वाक़या था जो इमाम मूसा काज़िम अलैहिस्सलाम का था. उसमें एक example, like we see in your general lives, like we ask people, why don't you want to switch your house. ये घर से एक घर बहुत छोटा है, you can go and build a bigger house and stay there. And not most of the time, but we get to hear that oh, we spent our childhood in this house. ये घर जो है मेरे माँ बाप ने बनाया है मुझे, and I can't leave this. I'm emotionally attached to this house. And then ऐसा एक similar situation था इमाम मूसा काज़िम अलैहिस्सलाम के दौर में. एक इमाम ने एक बड़ा घर बनाया था और एक दोस्त को बोला कि because the house he was living in was not big enough for his family, and Imam asked him to move into this bigger house. And and his friend said, oh Imam, yes, I'm very pleased that you're offering me this house to live in, but I can't leave this current house because my father built it, and I can't leave it. And then the response from Imam was, if your father did a mistake, or not a mistake, but if he couldn't build a bigger house for you, that doesn't mean like you have to stick to that house for the rest of your life. If you can afford a bigger house, you should build a bigger house जो आपके family को अच्छा accommodate कर सके. And one of the biggest feature of the house should be the open area. The bigger here in Western countries we say it as a backyard, but in India हम बोलते हैं कि ना आंगन बड़ा होना चाहिए. That sort of so the bigger the backyard, the better for you, as per imams. And then according to Imam Jafar Sadiq al-Islam, one of the things which shows a man as fortunate is his house being open and palatial. Like the bigger the house is more fortunate. And few things which are connected with the house being unlucky for a person. That's like the open ground being less, the neighbors being bad, and the house itself having many faults. And so these points make us realize that when you move into a new house, you also need to consider how your neighbors are. आपके पड़ोसी कैसे हैं, are they well educated, well mannered, will they cause any issues if you start living in the house. So you need to consider this as well. And Imam Jafar Sadiq al-Islam, he also stated the two things which are curse for one's life. Changing house often. We see people changing house often, very often. And buying bread from outside, like जो लोग बाहर से खाना खाते हैं most of the time, it's basically curse of life. That's what Imam says. I mean, we can have a discussion on this, like changing houses often, is it really curse of life? But I'm sure there are certain scenarios where this point is more applicable. And the one most important conditions, we keep on imams keep on stress on the fact that you need to have a bigger house to live in, but only on one condition: only if you are if you're capable and legally capable of earning that much money to build that house. But if you go in an illegal way to earn money to build a bigger house, then you're causing yourself a trouble. And according to Holy Prophet al-Islam, a person who constructs a building with illegal funds, and for the sake of gaining fame and name, and also letting others just like show off kind of thing, like to prove that he's bigger than others. अगर फर्ज करिए कि कोई एक बंदा घर बना रहा और he's constantly comparing your house with his house, saying, okay, I want to build a bigger house than your house, not thinking like is that house enough for him or not. So that if you build a house in that way, on the day of the judgment, his building will be dug into the 7th layer of earth, according to Imam, according to Holy Prophet, and his house will be tied around his neck. So he can't take the burden of that house anymore on the day of judgment. And one more important factor while building a house is, I'll give you one small story. A person complained to Imam Jafar Sadiq al-Islam that, jinns hurt his children. Jinnat jo hote hai, he says, like, my children are being hurt by this jinnat. And then the first question Imam asked was, how high is your ceiling? What's the height of the ceiling? And he asked him to measure the height of the ceiling. And if the height of the ceiling is more than 8 hands, let's say 8 foot probably, then he says, you are more prone to jinnat, they can hurt you. And straight away, the person asked the Imam, like, okay, my house is big, and my ceiling height is like, 10 hands. What's the solution for me? Then Imam said, you can write Ayatul Kursi between 8 and 10 hands of your ceiling on the 4 walls. That will help protect you from jinnat. और इमाम जाफर सादिक के घर पे भी जो है on his door, people saw Ayatul Kursi written on his front door, facing towards the Qibla. And one thing to keep in mind while you decorate your house is, like, paintings on walls or cloth which resembles perfect human form is prohibited. अगर आपके पास घर में painting है, hand painted, or it didn't mention any hand paint, but it said, the book mentioned saying, paintings on walls or cloth which resembles perfect human being. अगर ऐसे painting है आपके घर में, it's better you get rid of the painting. But for whatever reason you can't get rid of it, then you change the painting in a way that, it doesn't look like a full human part. Like, you can even take off his hand from the painting, or even, legs from the painting, to make sure it doesn't resemble the perfect human form. That's one thing you need to keep in mind. And I know, like, paintings are pretty common in this country, and now it's getting common in India as well. So that's one thing we need to keep in mind all the time. I've noticed few people have dogs in their houses as well. कुछ मोमिन हैं जो, I don't want to take the names or anything, but I've heard or seen people having dogs in their house. Yes, the dogs are allowed in we are allowed to have dogs in the house, but there are certain conditions of having a dog in house. Basically, Imam Musa Kazim and Holy Prophet as well mentioned, like, you're only allowed to have a dog for hunting purpose, or you can have a dog in your house if you live far away from the population. If you're living in a remote area for your own protection, probably you can have a dog. But at the same time, there are more conditions implied on you how you need to have a dog in your house. Like, you need to have a barricade between your house and yourself and the dog, and dog should have a separate area. He's not allowed to come into your area and live with you, like, as a normal other pet animal. So just that's one thing which sounded a bit interesting to me. Like, I've seen plenty of homes here who have dogs, so maybe they need to review the conditions on having a dog in your house, and see if they're eligible for having a dog in their house. Other than that, it's always recommended to have a separate room for prayer. एक छोटा रूम हो. हजरत अली के पास भी जो है, हजरत अली अलैहिस्सलाम के पास भी एक छोटा रूम था जिसमें it's only dedicated for prayer, and he says, like, I feel very relaxed after going into the room so that I can have a proper conversation with Allah in namaz. That's what he used to say. And he used to have a Quran in that area as well. And he recommends to recite Quran in the house, not like Christians or others where they only pray after going to church. Yes, we have mosque to pray, Imam Bargah hai, Mallis Jashan ya phir Quran padhne ke liye. But reading Quran in the house is the most preferred, it's very much preferred. Like, Quran padhne se Imam bolte hai ki, you get nur from Allah in your house. It keeps you away from poverty. कुछ अजाब हो उससे भी दूर रहते हैं आप कुरान पढ़ने से. So we should make the habit of reading Quran in house, at least one line or one page if possible, or 2 pages, whatever you can, loudly, so that it can be heard throughout the house at least once a day. और हजरत अली ने ये भी कहा है कि डोंट लिव never stay for a moment in the house which has no curtains, which is very interesting. Like, he recommends to have curtains in your house. You might translate that to blinds in our Western countries. Not everyone have curtains in their house, but it's mandatory to have blinds at least in your house. And the other thing is, throw the rubbish during the day. Don't leave the rubbish in your house throughout the night, because if you leave the rubbish in the house throughout the night, Imam says shaitan, takes that the area where that rubbish is, shaitan takes that occupancy of that area. Or sweeping and clean, according to Muhammad Baqir al-Islam, sweeping and cleaning the house keeps poverty away from it, or from your life. And also one thing which we all, I'm sure everyone follows, is like, you should never keep your food or water open in your house. Like, you keep it covered with anything, like, another plate or any other covering. So yeah, these are the few things which I wanted to present today. I hope this information is useful, and you try to uh, implement it in your life. I'm sure everyone is doing it, but in case if you require some changes, it's good we make these changes in our life.